It probably wasn't thinking. It was panic, grab, and pull. That's what girls are taught to do if they get approached by an aggressive man on the street. Fatality! Hoshi Hoshi Mewtwo! I'm stuck. Did you sit there waiting for me to start the intro? I just put it back on. Did you literally sit there with your Cheeto dust ass fingers over the take off visor button? Is that what you did? Can you say anything other than Om? I'm Stellatrix coming at you live from a starship near you. By the time you're perceiving this, it's not actually live anymore, so I'm technically a liar. Today we'll be perceiving 100 men versus 100 gorilla. Everything you need to know by Casual Geographic. I love this dude's channel. He explains everything in the funniest way, and I can only hope to one day be as entertaining.
100 men versus 1 gorilla is just the newest online debate brought to you by people that have way too much time on their hands. And
I want to know where things like this start. Was this a Reddit question in the realm of would you rather be stuck in the woods with a random man versus a random bear?
Because it's quickly gone from silly Twitter talk to what has to be a massive joke that I'm not in on. What's clear is one side is getting drastically overrated, while people obviously aren't taking the other side seriously.
I will say, for a brief second, when this first happened, I was in the camp of, I think one gorilla would take down 100 unarmed humans, but I was thinking gorillas were bears, basically. And then I actually went and looked into it and I was like, ah, no. A gorilla is just a bigger person. I was presented with facts and rescinded my initial incorrect opinion.
Plus, I love animals and arguments, so if you're looking for a video to eat your lunch with, or to be the soundtrack of your commute home, I'm going to break down the question you probably didn't care about in the first place, and by the end, you'll wonder how this was ever even a question. So here's the full truth of whether one—
He predicted it. Everyone's like, why is this a question? Who first asked this?
100 unarmed men could beat 1 prime silverback gorilla. But first, we gotta understand what force of nature we're up against.
Yes.
Now, I do have a couple recent videos on gorillas, so to not repeat myself too much, I do advise that you check those out for further context. But basically, everything we thought about gorillas back in the day was wrong. They're giant, non-violent, fart-happy pacifists, and the most dangerous thing about them is they can misunderstand regular human actions as an act of war.
If I fart harder than the monk, do I win? Something tells me that you have great success with the ladies. I don't know what it is. I just get that vibe.
So while yeah, if you smile at a silverback enough times, he eventually will put beats on you like a Cherokee drum. Most times,
oh my god, I forgot about that episode of SpongeBob. That episode of SpongeBob absolutely mortified me when I was a young starlet. If it's a female gorilla, I have a good chance to be a baby in her eyes. I could start crying or act like a gorilla child. Apparently, I think he's probably going to talk about it, but apparently male gorillas are actually pretty paternal, generally.
About the 6,000 calories he eats a day. And thank the stars for that. Gorillas are built like the developer had something to prove. They took the human model and said, tried to resize. The result is an alpha ape with a stronger bite force than a grizzly, allegedly. Hands that can crush a crocodile.
A stronger bite force than a grizzly? We don't know if it has a stronger bite force than a grizzly? At that point, I think the PSI is just dead.
Skull, allegedly, and just strength that we really have no way to truly comprehend. That man fully didn't plan to get casually ragdolled, but plans are always subject to change when you're around the prime ape.
Hold on a minute.
Crocodile skull, allegedly, and just strength that we really have no way to truly comprehend.
Ooh,
that man fully didn't plan to get casually ragdolled, but plans are always subject to change when you're—
Look at that man's face. That is the face of a man that just saw his life flash before his eyes. Like, that gorilla told that man, stop playing with me, bro. Don't forget your place.
Around the prime ape. Gorillas might default to peace, but life is multiple choice. The question is, what kind of carnage comes when they choose violence? It's hard to imagine what a fully malice-motivated gorilla can do because it takes a lot for them to get to that point. The first phase of conflict involves using body language and gestures to send a message before hands even have to be thrown. Because for an animal that can spend over 12 hours a day eating, wasting calories on fights is poor resource management. The second phase of escalation usually involves pushing, grappling, and—
Whoa, my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. This video just gave me so much anxiety. Could you imagine being this man You want to talk about balls? You want to talk about having balls? This man has all of the balls. This man has every single ball that has ever existed. If you've ever looked down in your pants and been like, wow, why are my balls so small? It's because this man stole them. Most animals, when they charge at you, most of them, not all of them, most animals, when they charge at you, if you act like you're not scared, they're gonna be like, bruh, why isn't he scared? This is scary. He didn't even flinch, honestly. If I was the gorilla, I'd be a little scared of that man too. That's what I'm saying. Watch him. He doesn't even flinch.
Is poor resource management. The second phase of escalation usually involves pushing, grappling, and screaming in really short bursts. Gorillas—
He didn't fling his arms up. He didn't make noises like you often get told to do. He just stood there. He stood there and he was like, y'all right, little bro? You good, little man? This is who Discord mods think they are.
Usually involves pushing, grappling, and screaming in really short bursts.
Man, that's horrifying.
Gorillas fight the way they fuck. What I mean is, the phase they run are like how they're hung. Not long at all. Because again, most times, gorillas don't actually want to fight.
Gorillas fight the way they what? What did he say?
Are like how they're hung in really short bursts. Gorillas fight the way they fuck. What I mean is, the phase they—
Oh! I'm sorry. I don't know how gorillas do that either. Am I supposed— is this common knowledge? Am I supposed to know how gorillas do this? You heard it right. I wasn't sure I did, but I guess I did. Were you guys aware of the way gorillas procreate?
they run are like how they're hung. Not long at all. Because again, most times, gorillas don't actually want to fight.
Oh, so gorillas have tiny wieners?
But what about when they do? Yeah, that would be phase 3, and that usually happens when 2 silverbacks throw down for control of a group. Losing such would mean losing the 3 Fs: food, family, and the FCC won't let me finish, but stakes can make these fights to the death, and here's where we can see what gorillas are truly capable of. I found a research paper that detailed the injuries sustained in gorilla-on-gorilla fights, and based on that, you see a pattern. Those teeth are for more than just undressing trees, and losers are often found with lacerations and puncture wounds all over the body. And unlike a leopard, which leaves small puncture wounds, the
Did he say leopard? Is this a leopard?
The canines of a gorilla cause large gaping tears in victims. Even if the gorilla's bite strength has been exaggerated, which we will get into, even lowballing them puts them at the level of a hyena. One gorilla—
What? Whoa, hyenas have a really high— What? 1100 PSI just to bite a lion directly in the testicle. I mean, if you were a hyena, wouldn't you bite a lion directly in the testicle?
the level of a hyena. One gorilla named Inshuti had his foot completely crushed with the tips of his fingers and ear bitten off. Gorillas also use their arms, not really to punch but to use as battering rams, and they've also been known to pull chunks of hair out with their hands. So safe to say, a gorilla's stiff arm to the back would crack your constitution like a glow stick and could dislocate or break human bones by accident. And with many victims also recorded with bite wounds to the face, you'd probably be able to unlock—
Dang boy, he thick! That gorilla is thick! This is why mom doesn't freaking love you, chat!
your iPhone from 20 feet away after a gorilla puts jaws on you. So what chance would an army of humans have against a 500-pound berserker? Well, hot take. Gorillas have been drastically overrated in many ways. First as fighters. Gorillas aren't efficient fighters, they're more physical brawlers and grapplers, and with everything I've said, most fights last anywhere from a couple seconds to 1 to 2 minutes at the most.
Look at that peach!
Also, as strong as gorillas are, their strength has been overrated. There are some animals that just get more and more OP the more people talk about them. Chimps have been said to have the strength of 8 men when—
Does anyone else get the worst sense of uncanny valley? Is this a real picture? No, gooning! What? Hello? Those arms look freakishly human-like, and it makes me really uncomfortable. It looks AI generated, you think so? It's real? No, we're just gonna pretend like it's AI generated. I don't care. He doesn't use AI photos. Just because he doesn't use AI photos doesn't mean he doesn't get bamboozled. Because some AI photos are really, really, really convincing.
Really, it's closer to 1.5. It's just that they're stronger in all the ways that can kill you. And grizzly bears are already big enough, but then you got people claiming they can decapitate a full-grown moose with one swipe. Now, what idiot would say that? And this debate has people swearing a gorilla would rip a whole man in half like a phone book with nary a sweat. I knew the gorilla propaganda peaked when this was an actual debate. Dr. Strange could conjure up 14 million realities. You won't find one where a plus-size protein-packing primate can do anything to a full-strength grizzly bear taking him seriously.
This is so funny that he's bringing this up because we were talking about this earlier. Who wins, 1 Stella or 100 chatters? That depends. Are the chatters you guys? And is it a battle of wits? Because the answer is pretty clear. We lift, bro. Lifting the fork to your mouth while you're eating doesn't count as a workout, Bahamut.
Especially since there's a much smaller predator known to give gorillas problems. Gorillas have been documented getting preyed on by African leopards. Even with jungle leopards being bulkier due to less competition, that's still an at most 180-pound cat past tensing Optimus Prime. Now let me be fair, these are rare and leopards usually go for hoofed animals, wild pigs, and monkeys.
Oh my
Gorillas
god.
are actually too big and too social to be a regular on the grocery list, so it sounds like my whole point is trash. But that same paper listing gorilla on gorilla violence also showed the aftermath of leopard attacks. In those reports, all leopard victims took bite wounds to the head and most of the arms, with lacerations localized about the neck and claw marks on the trunk. So even though it is rare in a
I don't understand what I'm looking at here. Locations of wounds on victims by the type of attack from... Chat, I'm confused. I'm confused on what animal is attacking which animal. First, mountain gorilla attacking on a normal gorilla. What is a normal gorilla? It's showing where a gorilla would kill the viewer? But I'm not a gorilla. Why are humans randomly thrown into the mix here? Whatever. We're moving on. Somebody in the freaking YouTube comments is gonna call me an idiot and then try to explain it to me. I look forward to it. YouTube, if you think you can do better, if you think you can be smart and explain this to me, be my guest. Whoever can explain it to me first and make me understand will get the pinned comment.
To the arms,
Whatever.
with lacerations localized about the neck and claw marks on the trunk. So even though it is rare and a one-on-one between a silverback and a leopard might murk both, if a gorilla can struggle with less than 200 pounds of predator, a 900-pound duratio would give Harambe a bunkmate. Also, against 100 men, there are some very real issues that could be game over.
How can you say he doesn't use AI when this picture exists? Look at bro's arms back here. They're all brothers. What do you think the daddy is? Ask Cha-Cha. Why would Cha-Cha know the answer to that?
For the gorilla. The big one is endurance. Gorillas are dangerously close to being hot girl fit. They're best using explosive bursts of energy, not sustained strain over a long period of time, and a fight against 100 humans would likely last hours. Which is really bad considering compared to us, gorillas have poor temperature control. Gorillas don't.
Most animals have poor temperature control compared to humans. We forewent having fur in favor of sweating through our skin. Sweating is far more efficient than any form of panting, which is also why it's super, 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 super dangerous when the weather is hot and the humidity is high, because if there's too much water in the air, your sweat won't be able to evaporate off your skin, and you're much more prone to overheating. So if anybody ever says, ooh, dry heat is worse, it's not. It hurts to breathe. But in terms of overheating, humid hot air is much worse. Humans are liquid cooled systems.
Don't have as many sweat glands as humans, and if we're talking about mountain gorillas, the thick fur would make it a 101 versus 1. The men and the risk of heat stroke. That is if the ape doesn't just have a heart attack. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in gorillas in zoos, and 70% of male gorillas in zoos suffer from heart disease that'll past tense them prematurely. Now that might...
Why? Are we giving them the wrong diet? They're not built for long fights, but what does that have to do with heart disease? He said in captivity. In captivity, it's the leading... Maybe, I guess we just don't have data for non-captive gorillas, or they just die to fights quicker.
Might just apply to zoo gorillas, but it's still a factor. Another is the very temperament of the gorilla. Now that might just apply to zoo gorillas,
see?
but it's still a factor. Another is the very temperament of the gorilla is highly non-confrontational. They're more likely to run away than run a fade.
I had to fight a goose once. Chad, have you ever fought a goose? I had to fight a goose. Goose won? No, I won. It was chasing aggressively after a small child and nobody was doing anything about it. So I ran up and I kicked the goose. It really hurt. Geese are really heavy. I was barefoot and the goose still didn't completely back down after that. I had to chase it. It was aggro, but I won. I beat the goose in my freaking bathing suit and bare feet. Sacrifice the child. I was mad. Nah, Stella versus Goose, Stella won.
But most importantly, the brawling, grappling build is not a good combat style.
You most likely had floaties on too. Just because you don't know how to swim doesn't mean I don't know how to swim. I'm gonna need you to stop projecting your weirdness onto me. You're gonna make me look bad. Correction, Stella 1, Goose 0. When's the next fight? Best of 3. I can and will throw hands with a goose the second a goose comes at me. I am not afraid of these mother truckers. I will fight them. Me and geese, we got beef.
Then run a fade. But most importantly, the brawling, grappling build is not a good combat style against multiple enemies. We know that cause there's another African predator that's been giving gorillas hell, and you may not have even realized
Antelope.
it. And it's weird because for a while, gorillas and chimpanzees seem like they were on good terms.
Oh.
They've been recorded foraging together, and they'll even have their version of primate playdates. That all changed when the chimps started chimping. A couple years ago in Luongo National Park, scientists witnessed a gang of 18 chimps jump a gorilla family of 5. That's 3 females, 1 baby, and a silverback. The turf war lasted an hour, and even with the silverback apparently testing ragdoll physics, throwing chimps in the air, and even managing to injure 3. Eventually, he was surrounded and chased off by 9 chimps. The adults got away, but the chimps managed to snatch the baby gorilla, which was promptly eaten. The second attack involved 20.
Oh god, no, that's the actual footage. Yeah, I think I would take my chances with a gorilla than with chimps, because chimps are a-holes. Chimps are like polar bears, but with thumbs. Apes, chimps, monkeys, whatever you want to call them, they scare me. They enter uncanny valley for me. I think it's super cool that we can sign language at gorillas. And I know gorillas tend to be really family oriented. Polar bears actually do hunt humans though. It's true. Polar bears are one of the few animals on the planet that actively hunt humans and see them as food. Not just threats, but actual food.
7 chimpanzees and 7 gorillas, and this time the silverback made a business decision and immediately climbed out of the trees and fled the scene. Yes, comparing chimps to humans is comparing durians to jackfruit. The moral here is the one gorilla can not only be overwhelmed, but neutralized by numbers. Because if there's one thing that's being dangerously underrated—
Why do all of these pictures exist? Look at how many fingers bro's got over here. This one's got that Sigma face.
it's the power of friendship. Don't laugh, I'm serious. If you remember this picture, then you know this was the 100 Men, 1 Gorilla of 2018. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Pick 2. They will defend you. The rest is coming to kill you. I am picking the 3 grizzlies and the 10,000 rats. I don't think you guys understand how many rats 10,000 rats is. I've played enough Dishonored to know how this ends. I think the 10,000 rats would win on their own against all of these. YouTube, what would you pick to defend you versus kill you? The danger of being shot from afar is real. In this scenario, I envision I just get down on the ground while everything else fights. Yeah, I'm taking the bears and the rats.
It's pretty self-explanatory. Everything here is coming for your life except the 2 you pick to run defense for you. And I'm just gonna kill the suspense. If one of those picks isn't the 10,000 rats,
see?
You have no idea how big 10,000 is.
That's what I was saying! That's what I was saying! Rats are freaking terrifying! Just go play Dishonored for 10 minutes! It's accurate! Crazy? I was crazy once. They locked me in a room. A rubber room full of rats. Rats? I hate rats.
Add eagles for aerial support and the rest of the field would have over 200 rats to deal with each. And it's cause the power of plurality is one of the most broken strategies in nature. Mobbing refers to an anti-predator behavior where prey animals approach, harass, and sometimes attack their own predator. It's how one animal can shift an almost impossible matchup in their favor. One hyena to a lion is a chew toy. Add 20 and it's a life lesson. Pilot whales have been on record chasing orcas out of high competition areas and even actively following the sounds of orca hunts.
This is exactly why pack hunting is a thing. Congratulations, you are discovering evolution. You are discovering the food chain.
There's plenty of examples of weaponized unity in nature, but probably my favorite case of what's akin to a mob happens off the coast of South Africa, where fur seals have to risk their spot on the census every time they check the fridge, cause the seals can't go out for groceries without the chance of running into the biggest predatory fish on earth. Every year, great white sharks will gather around fur seal nurseries and snatch any inexperienced pups. The problem is so many sharks show up that a seal can dodge one great white right into the jaws of another.
Oof.
You've seen this movie before. But there's an alternate ending. Scientists have recorded fur seals squatting up into one giant group and using their numbers to turn on the sharks closing in. And as the mob gets bigger, the seal force gets more confident, leading to them escorting the 20-foot assault submarines back out to sea. So with
This is what happens when you actually get on the point. When everybody's on the point where they're supposed to be and doing the objective like they're supposed to be doing. Teammate together strong. Enough with the fictional scenarios. I know. It's a pipe dream. It's a fantasy.
With all this, now it doesn't seem like a stretch to favor 100 men over just one gorilla. You could argue that the CEOs and the other mob merchants aren't actually getting physical with their final boss. That's true. Everyone's asking if 100 men could off a gorilla. No one's asking how. Well, that's why I'm here. But first, obligatory, don't try this on a gorilla, or at least don't blame me for the consequences if you do. In a fight against a simian weighing a shack and a half, it's all about attacking the weak points, and a gorilla's weak points are the same as ours. Eyes, throat, mouth, and for measure, the jewels of the south. It's all about delivering
Ew.
damage that actually matters, and to do that, someone would have to perform the Draymond Green special, and go for the eyes and blind him. Someone else would have to suffocate the supersized simian, either by bear hugging his windpipe, which only Tarzan backpacking plot armor can do, or by shoving your entire arm down his throat. And
Is that what shack and a half meant? I was trying to figure out what shack and a half meant. My brain didn't go to Shaquille O'Neal. I was like, I'm just not gonna say anything because I've already asked enough stupid questions. That is a really gross picture to pause on. Anyway, I didn't immediately get what shack and a half meant.
throat. And since you're already negotiating your arm elbow deep in esophagus, you'd also have to pull the gorilla's tongue out.
Ew.
I call that the leopard method, because a 73-year-old once soloed an attacking leopard by reaching into its mouth and ripping out the leopard's liquor.
Oh
and
my
speaking
God.
of grab and pull, someone would have to be elected to perform Draymond's final smash.
Could you imagine getting attacked by a leopard and then having the presence of mind, not only the presence of mind to think to do this, but the balls to actually carry it out and just reach into its mouth and rip its tongue out? Literally Mortal Kombat finisher move. It probably wasn't thinking. It was panic, grab, and pull. That's what girls are taught to do if they get approached by an aggressive man on the street. Fatality!
And go for the gorilla's unmentionables. Hey, don't judge. This is war. The rest would have to use their combined strength to pin the primate down, with the remainder delivering kicks to the gorilla's flank, the most powerful natural attack to the gorilla's most vulnerable area. That would probably be the best way to chip away at a gorilla. One problem though, this is still a gorilla we're talking about. Even with everything I said about their strength being overrated, a gorilla fighting for its life would show you destruction like you've never seen. It doesn't matter how many men, the method, or the facet, for those first few, their only outcome is a closed casket. Even if numbers eventually—
I mean, yeah, if you're fighting for your life, at that point, it's just take everybody down. But this is assuming that the gorilla doesn't get the chance to just flee. Because at some point, the gorilla is going to have self-preservation instincts and try to run away.
win, those first dozen or so men would be horrifically maimed, mutilated, or straight up murked. You can argue that if I can mention that 100 men running over the hill would intimidate even a gorilla, witnessing men getting mauled and disfigured would inflict psychological damage. There's an argument that witnessing the sheer carnage would weaken the resolve of the others, destabilizing the army. And you have to remember, if mobbing is natural, doing so in a way that guarantees a portion of your team sees Tupac live isn't. Even animals like hyenas will fall back if they sense they don't have enough of an advantage.
Wow. What happened here where a lion is just walking away from a pack of hyenas? What happened here for the lion to just be walking away from a pack of hyenas? This is the animal kingdom equivalent of setting off an explosion and walking away slowly for dramatic effect.
An advantage in a clan fight. But there's a catch. The tweet that started all this said, dedicated to that surely if men can watch bunkmates get blown to bits.
Was that the original tweet? I think 100 people could beat 100, or 100 people could beat one gorilla. Everybody just got to be dedicated. 288.9 million views. I'm really curious how many followers he has from this. 22,000.
Said, dedicated to that surely if men can watch bunkmates get blown to bits in a war, then you can find 100 willing to die about a gorilla. If they can withstand the visceral reaction of seeing jaws getting detached, limbs getting dislocated, and a field of open fractures, 100 men would definitely beat a gorilla. And moral of the—
How many fingers does this man man have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another 100 brothers. What is this man? Who is the dad? Genghis Khan? Who does this arm belong to? Who does this arm belong to? Where's this man's arm? He is left-handed twice. This is what they mean when they say you got 2 left hands. LOL. Tag yourself, chat. Which one are you? I definitely think I'm this dead guy on the ground who has weird malformed body parts going to absolutely nowhere.
We have strayed so far from the halo of Harambe. Yeah, this is the part where I do the annoying thing and turn a tweet made by someone who definitely wouldn't pass a P-test into a lecture. But like I said in the other video, gorillas have already been getting the middle finger from humanity, either in the wild or in zoos. Whether it's trophy hunting or bushmeat, habitat loss, or an unsupervised minor, humans have the highest case.
There it is. There it is. There was the Harambe joke. I was waiting for it. You were waiting for it. Everyone was waiting for it, and it was just so smooth. It was right there. It was right there, and he just sniped it. Much like the zookeepers did to Harambe.
Humans have the highest KD ratio against our green machine cousins, because a gorilla has never been on record life depriving a person.
Really?
Even when they may have had a reason. Yet the mountain gorilla is nearly in bed with extinction mostly because of humans. But not all humans. Some dedicate their entire lives to the welfare of this giga ape, which is why I will be donating to Virunga National Park. Not only do they treat and protect the gorillas there as family, they often have to risk their lives regularly going against poachers. That and the fact that I made a video detailing how to murk an endangered species makes my soul itch, so link down below if you'd like to donate as well. I'm not—
Save the gorillas! Save the gorillas! You want justice for Harambe? Donate to Save the Gorillas.
I'm not kidding when I say their family. This man was seen comforting one of his young gorillas after his mother died. And fun fact, Virunga National is where we got this gem. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Fun little video that nobody should take seriously. Nah, but I think I'm gonna start doing the animal versus animal face-off videos again, so let me know what animal matchup you'd like to see me yap about. There's one I've been wanting to get into for a while. Friendly reminder that I have a book, 100 Animals That'll
He's got a book! That's so cool!
More, but the name's the marketing.
My mouth just farted. Did you hear that? Did you hear the fart that just came out of my mouth? How did I do that? My lip farted. Put this part on YouTube? No, I'm definitely editing this part out. I don't need a bunch of YouTube comments being like, did she just say she just farted with her mouth? LOL. What the heck?
But a reminder that your money is probably just gonna buy me lunch, so don't spend a check unless you've always wanted to indirectly feed me Wendy's. Or you might just fund my next trip. I mean, all this talk about gorillas, who knows? Maybe I'll go see one. Oh shit. But yeah, drink water, hug your mother. Please don't gang up on a gorilla. They've been through enough. And I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.
Anyway, there you have it. Dicks out for Harambe!